In 1996, Konami released the first Suikoden game to North America. It was met with great acclaim to fans of console RPGs and began a new franchise. Konami then followed suit with a sequel, Suikoden II, in 1999. Like the first game, Suikoden II was the masterwork of Yoshitaka Moriyama, who had already concocted many of the game's premises prior to the original Suikoden's development. This was because the original script of Suikoden II was first written for a Konami internal console that was eventually canned when the company decided to publish games for the Sony PlayStation. Moriyama decided that the original script would be too difficult to pull off without first creating a less complex story first. So a few years later, he dusted off the original script for Suikoden II. The events of Suikoden II pick up 3 years after the events of the original game. The main protagonist, Ryu, and his friend Joey are members of the Highland Army's Youth Brigade camp. Rumors seem to indicate that a bloody conflict between the Highland Kingdom and the city-states of Joustin is about to come to an end. As a result, the soldiers in the camp are in a jubilant mood as they believe that they will soon return home. Ryu and Joey suddenly wake up in the middle of the night to the sounds of battle and cries of anguish, discovering that their camp has been set on fire. They escape into the mountains but decide to report to Raud, their commander. When they go back and do so, they see Raud meeting with Prince Luca Blight, where they come to a horrific realization. The assault on the camp was a false flag attack set by Luca Blight, who intends to subdue Joustin under his rule by continuing the war. Joey confronts Raud but is stopped by Ryu, and the two are able to escape to the cliffs behind camp. Before jumping into the rapids below, they make a promise to each other to return to a rock there to unite once the conflict is over. Ryu is discovered by Victor and Flick, who are immediately recognizable from the first game, and this is where the story truly begins. As far as combat goes, there isn't very much change from the original Suikoden. Parties consist of 6 characters, and each character has a short-ranged, medium-ranged, or long-ranged weapon. This determines whether or not the character can attack from the back row. As in the original game, magic in Suikoden II revolves around runes, and characters can use their runes to inflict damage in combat. Thankfully, there is now a 3-slot system that allows characters to equip up to 3 runes at once. This was a welcome change that added a bit of diversity and customization that the original Suikoden lacked. Also, the Unite system is back again, and predefined groups of characters can engage in special Unite attacks if the required characters are all present in the same party. Unite attacks incentivize adding certain characters to your party to maximize your damage potential, and it really is a fun aspect of the Suikoden series that most other RPGs just don't offer. For the game's strategic battles, Suikoden II made some improvements upon the original game. While the basics of the strategic battle commands have remained similar, hero and enemy forces are now divided into units on a map, making movement a key part of the clashes. Like the first game, there are 3 types of units: infantry, archers, and mages. However, unlike the first game, army battles in Suikoden II are based on unit attributes, so attack, defense, and runes control the outcomes. Thankfully, there is also added support skills such as healing to augment the strategy. All in all, Suikoden II offered some nice touches that made its strategic battles plainly better than the original Suikoden. The one-on-one duel battles are back in this one as well, and they aren't very different from the original Suikoden. Your 3 command options, attack, defend, and wild attack, basically comes down to a paper, rock, scissors game. However, what does make these duels fun is that the enemy typically makes a statement prior to his next move, which usually determines what he's about to do. Though pretty simple, the duels do help advance the story pretty well. Of all the characteristics of Suikoden II, I think the game's story is the very best part. It's clearly darker and more serious than the first Suikoden, which seemed quite a bit more optimistic. For embracing this type of story, I think Suikoden II definitely surpassed my expectations. Ryu and Joey's parallel lives make the biggest impact to the player, and how these characters are used is one of the most exceptional facets of the game. It's very rare to find an RPG where the 2 main characters are utilized so efficiently, while being located in different parts of the world and with entirely different outlooks for most of the game. Also, the game just offers a ton of nostalgia for those who had played the first Suikoden. This was a nice touch for fans, and really a distinctive choice that is rarely done in other RPG series. Like the original Suikoden, the game borrows key ideas from the classic Chinese novel Shuihu Juan, often translated as Water Margin. The novel is a seminal work in China, where it is considered one of the 4 great classics of Chinese literature. Among the influences lifted from Water Margin are the inclusion of exactly 108 characters. These characters are known in the game as the 108 Stars of Destiny. Being able to recruit this many characters offered a fun challenge and some replay value to the game that would not have existed otherwise. And speaking of the 108 characters in Suikoden II, one of them is Tyr McDowell, the hero of the first game. Being able to recruit him was definitely an unexpected touch, and it brought back a lot of great memories. In order to unlock Tyr, one must first load save data with all 108 Stars of Destiny from the original Suikoden at the beginning of the game. Loading save data at the beginning of Suikoden II to unlock special content was a really sweet idea that I've never really seen replicated before in other RPGs. At this point, I'd also like to praise the way in which Suikoden II handles the game's adversaries. I just loved how much attention is given to them. There are numerous scenes where you see these characters discuss key storyline details and personal thoughts, and it provides a great way to develop the characters and make them more interesting. This was a refreshing facet of the game that the first Suikoden didn't offer. There are many storyline ties to the first Suikoden game as well, and the game has lots of great nostalgia that will make fans of that one very happy. For instance, the villain Uber plays a bigger role in Suikoden II, and he has become one of the most popular characters in the series. Mysterious and cunning, he carries a sincere hatred toward the 27 true runes, and is wholly committed to bringing down anyone wielding them. Of course, we also have to touch upon the music in Suikoden II. The music soundtrack for this game was a monumental effort, coming in at 105 tracks in total. Like the original game, Miki Higashino was the primary composer. As one of the high points in the series, the music helps deliver the moods of the game rather effectively. The music was also arranged well, and the songs definitely fit the game's storyline sequences. Some of my favorite tracks in Suikoden II include Name Entry, The Even More Glorious Beautiful City, and Gothic Necklore. In all honesty, while I think the story in Suikoden II is superior to that of the original Suikoden, I think the music in Suikoden II is a notch below the level of the first title, even though the volume of songs is much greater in the second entry. Thankfully, Suikoden II did make use of significant ease of improvements over the original title. For instance, inventory management is no longer a complete nightmare. In the first Suikoden, each character only had 9 item slots, which made transferring and storing items incredibly tedious. In Suikoden II, however, the developers wisely created a party-wide joint inventory that made transferring items less of a chore. Additionally, holding down the dash button now allows you to run, which is a big help for travel. Getting around the world faster is always something that should be offered in RPGs, and this was a big help. Unfortunately, Suikoden II was quite a bit rarer than the original title, which has made its cost explode for a used copy. Thankfully, the game was finally re-released on the PlayStation Store a few years ago for a much lower price. Suikoden II offers a lot of great features that will please fans of classic RPGs, and especially fans of the original game. In the context of today's gaming age, a lot of people would be turned off by the random battles and 2D sprites, but those two facets are what made Suikoden fans flock to this game in droves. Even though Suikoden II sold about half of the number of copies as the original game, it does receive critical acclaim, and it is almost universally considered to be a better game than the original. If you're a fan of the more modern, action-oriented RPGs that do away with turn-based battles and random encounters, you probably won't like this one. However, those who do love classic RPGs will not be able to pass this one up. It's truly one of the console's greatest games for its genre. Overall, I have a hard time disagreeing with those that revere this game, and I consider it to be one of the top 5 games on the Sony PlayStation. And that will do it for my retrospective and review on Suikoden II. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, comment below on what you liked about the game, and check out my other videos.